Working on the rear parking brake today. Got the new cable put in that I searched and figured that would be about the best fit. Fits in here correctly, goes around there, and goes right into the factory spot. I'll crawl into there and show you here. And it just looks like the perfect length to get over to the factory parking brake mount. So I think that'll work good. So my plan is I'm gonna cut some extra cables I got and I'll clamp it to this one on each side, and then that little cable will run up here into the T-bar or whatever that little cross brace thing is here, and hook to that. So, and then doing that, I'll be able to kind of make these a custom length to reach this factory cable up front. So, and I'll show you what the part number is on that cable that I just got. It'll be both. I think that'll fit both sides just fine because this should all be centered. So I'll know a little bit when I put the other side on, but I think that'll work fine. So here's the cable I bought. I bought 2 of these, so 1 for each side. That's a Ray Bestis part number. So I'm going to get the other side put on. Oh, here's the ones I took off. They were super long, and these were hooked up to the factory cable in the 54 that I took it all out of, but they put in their own piece of angle iron cross member just for this. So I wanted to do a little bit better and use the factory mount. So that's why I went with a short length rather than this great big long thing. Got the parking brake lines hooked up here. Kind of see how I did it. So this is all the stock stuff. I don't know if that crossbar is stock, but it's one I had. But that's the stock line. And then these are the wires I just cut out of those lines that I took out. The one over there on the passenger side's broken. There's some wires, they're like cut or whatever. They're not cut, but they snapped. So I need to order another cable to replace that one, but I went ahead and hooked it up anyway just to see how it works, and should be fine. Back here you can see I just use cable clamps like they use for garage doors or whatever. You can get them at the hardware store. I might double it up. I've got room to put 2 on each of them. It's probably overkill, but it is parking brake, so I kind of want it to be reliable. But there you can see that side as well. I got a beeping noise here. Hold on. Oh, I guess it went away. So yeah, I think it'll work fine. Another angle here. Nothing exciting. I was able to reuse the factory mounts back here like I'd mentioned, so that's nice. I like that. So yeah, I think this is pretty clean. And this allows me to basically custom adjust the length, being that I've cut those other ones off. So yeah, I'm happy with this, I think. So I got this cable that was split. I got it replaced off that truck. I took one of the cables off that 79 frame that was going to the back axle. I just nipped it off there and replaced this one. It's in good shape. But what I wanted to show real fast is how I cut these using a pair of fencing parts. Now you can use a cutoff wheel, works good, but regular side cutters or lineman pliers or whatever, they don't cut cable like this at all. If I can focus on that. Yeah, whatever. So anyway, I just wanted to show you these guys make a nice, oh, didn't get it all in one pass, but there you go. See, it cuts it off nice and flush. So what I'll probably do is I'll crawl into there, cut those ones off, and then I'll just get like a wire crimp and put on there, and that'll help keep this wire from wanting to fray. A guy could weld on those or something, but that way I can just get under there and just put literally just a crimp on there. Then that'll keep that wire from wanting to unravel, because they will over time if you don't do anything. This can literally comes unwound and looks like a mess. So anyway, fencing pliers work good for cutting cable if you ever need to do that. Circling back to the remote filter hoses, I don't like these. They're not you know, steel braided or nothing. which I could slip a hose protection on there and do that. But I don't like the barb fittings. I mean, your coolant does that, but it's not at the same pressure these are. I think these are perfectly fine, don't get me wrong. I think it's just more my own paranoia, and I know a better way to do it. So I was going to do AN fittings and the nice steel braided hoses like you see on race cars and stuff. But when I pieced everything out for these two hoses, I think it was $100 in fittings, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a good option. But I like hydraulic hoses, so they're higher pressure, they're severe duty on heavy equipment. So I priced out the hose on Discount Hydraulic Hose, I think is what it is. I've ordered hoses for. That's where I bought the power steering hose, and I came up with this guy here. So I got two of these. This is I think 2,000 psi, 1,000 or 2,000. I can't remember. Anyway, it's way more than you need. Steel. They're heavy duty lines. It's made for heavy equipment. So this is what I'm gonna go with. I decided to do swivels on each end. That way, if it leaks or something, I can tighten it up without, have to mess with twisting the whole hose. Because normally, you've got a fixed end, and just one swivel end's usually enough on equipment. But since this is, a $3 difference in a fitting or something, I went ahead and put swivels on both ends just to maybe make it a little bit easier, I think. So these were about $30 a piece. So again, not cheap. I still think it's cheaper than the AN fitting style, but that's not, the AN fittings, you can make your own, you can custom make your own hose right there on the fly. So nothing wrong with going that route, but because I knew the length, I knew what I was doing, I already had them mocked up with this, I'm going this route. And these are good heavy duty hoses, so I don't have to worry about it chafing or popping over time wearing out. These things last forever, so especially not being in the sun under the hoods. So temperature wise, pressure wise, it's just way beyond what you need. So it just gives me peace of mind because the oil's running through that. I agree, the coolant hoses have clamps on them too, but usually when a coolant hose goes, you've got a little bit of time, there's indicators, but when you lose all your oil from a 1/2-inch hose, the oil's going to be gone like that. Like I said, these are probably fine, but I don't like the barb connectors, and I'm already having leaking issues, which it's not their fault. I just, again, didn't tighten them tight enough, but to retighten them, these hoses start twisting, so I got to take the hoses off, tighten it up, hook it back up, try it again. It's getting a little frustrating. So with this, I can keep tightening it if I need to, with being swivels on each end. I don't take the hose back off or do anything like that. So again, this is what I decided to do. There's more options in this. What I also ordered was hose for the power steering return line. This stuff's expensive to buy, to order for your, if you want a foot of it, it can cost you like $20. So again, the same company had this stuff. I think 3/8 was the correct size, and it's 400 psi, made in USA, and it's soft enough I can use the clamps on it for the return line. And again, this is for hydraulic hose or low pressure fluids, chemicals, so it'll work fine for that. Anyway, I got that because I want to put the power steering cooler in while I'm doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and take this fender off, so it's easier to get in there on the filter adapter on the engine. Just get this fender out of there. It's only got a few bolts holding it on anyway, so I'll do that, get that stuff all mounted, and then I don't think I'm gonna take my fender off again. I think I'm done with that, and I can actually bolt these on. I think I'll have to go over my list, but I think we're to that point. So anyway, I'll get started. I'll circle back around once we get a little farther, once I'm done, depending on if I remember to film more as it goes. So new hoses are installed, but it did not go as planned. Down here at the filter adapter that goes into the block, I could not for the life of me get these hoses on going straight into that adapter. Even if I turn that one way or the other, there was just not enough clearance to get past the steering box and straight in there. Now, if the hoses were completely in, I think there would be enough clearance, but there wasn't enough clearance to actually get the hoses started. So Now I'm kind of wondering if I had gotten the hoses that didn't have the swivel end, if they would have fit. We may not ever know. Doesn't really matter, I guess, now. So I went with these 45s. That's a street, and then this is a 45 elbow with a nipple, because these are too close together to run two of those side by side, even ground, and tried to put them both in at the same time, and they're just too close. I couldn't tighten two of them up at the same time, or put one in and put the next one in. There was just, I tried it, so I took the filter adapter off. I've been fighting with this thing way longer than I ever thought I would. So now I'm thinking that the other setup really wasn't so bad after all. I don't know. Anyway, here we are. So no leaks so far, so I'm happy. It looks a little weird if the hose is coming out in different angles, but it doesn't hurt nothing. In fact, it gives me good clearance around the steering box for those hoses. So, which I'm going to change this hose next and put in that the power steering cooler assembly. But oh, also, I swear when I took this thing off, I had the hoses backwards. That I had in on this one and in on this one, which is wrong. This is in, so that the out, out over there goes to in and vice versa, not in and out and out. So, and I swear I've got a little bit more oil pressure now. So I'm thinking I had those hoses backwards. Just being stupid, I guess. I don't know. I sat there for a little bit after I took it apart. It's like I swear I just pulled that hose from there, but that's the wrong spot. So, for peace of mind, I replaced the oil filter. Because if it's going backwards, that means the contaminants would be on the inside versus the outside, and then if I fix the hoses, then all those contaminants would be pulling back in the engine. So better safe than sorry. I put a new filter on there, so if there were some debris from the initial startup, I'm not sucking it back through going the other way. So threw another filter on there. I said I'm not positive I'd had that. Well, I guess I'll go back and look at my pictures. It'd be pretty easy to look. So anyway, I think I had them backwards, so now they're not. Bonehead mistake, but thankfully I didn't run it very long overall. I always had oil pressure, so it wasn't like I was starving the engine, I don't think. So I think we're fine. And I'll zip tie this together and clean them all up, but I got to get in there and do that power steering thing next, so I'll do that before I start doing anything else. But there we go. These are a lot heavier duty hoses. I looked at these are 2,000 psi hoses, so heavy duty. And these swivels are nice. So I can move these hoses out of the way and stuff, and the fitting pivots with it. So I'm still happy I did it. I don't really like the way that looks that much, but I ain't nobody gonna look at it but me. So I'll get over it. Here's the power steering cooler that I took off that 79 Ford chassis. There's a little more to this, it looked to me, than the Mustang one. And the Mustang one, the way the hoses connect to it are different, and it went in front of the radiator, which is good. But this one was off the pickup, was mounted in frame. And I ain't completely sure where it's going to fit on here yet. That coil and all that stuff's kind of in the way. I might just have to kind of hang it out here a little ways and then mount it to the inner fender or something when I get that put back on. So I'll do some mock. And this, I'll cut this down and flare it so I can just slide on hoses on both ends, because this one's screwed into the power steering or the gearbox. So we'll get this cleaned up real good, get it flushed out before I stick it on there, and then see where we can make it fit. Got the power steering cooler mounted. Came out better than I was figuring, and easier, so it's nice to have something like that for once. This little bracket here was bent around this way and was mounted to the frame of that other truck, so I just bent it around the other way and mounted it right there. So it's got a permanent little home, which is nice. And then this tube here was just kind of going, out and around. So I've bent it around, and so it's got a straight shot towards the steering gear box. And then I was able to flare the end with that fancy flaring tool I bought for the brake line. So that worked out really well. And everything's got good clearance. It's kind of hard to tell because it's so busy, but this tube coming out of here goes down, goes right into the pump, and then the return line, or the whichever way it goes, yeah, that'd be a return, goes through there, comes up right there and into that side, lots of frame clearance and all that. Nothing, not rubbing. That's coil's not. That's going to go out on the fender eventually, so that'll help clean things up and actually make it so I get a filter in there from the top. I'll either come through here or come through there, but should have room for that. Again, I don't like the looks of those fittings, but it actually has helped me compared to the way it was with both of those lines coming right through here. It gives me good clearance for this return hose as well as the other return hose too. So, and I've zip tied them together there. That makes it look a little bit cleaner. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. And that's there's a vent here on the cowl, or the not cowl, whatever you want to call it, the radiator. These pieces over here that go behind the grill, so there's a vent here, so the air goes right through there, which it's going to get air anyway up from underneath, and then as the fan blows and stuff like that. So since there's going to be air circulating just through here, so no, I think that's fine. I think that should be plenty of cooler for this setup. So yeah, overall I'm happy the way things turned out. It didn't go perfectly as planned, but nothing ever does when you're doing custom stuff. So no leaks so far. That's a big plus. So I'll run it a little bit more before I put the inner fender and stuff back on, just to verify make sure everything gets good and hot. Again, and make sure there's no leaks, because this is kind of a pain in the butt to work on from the top. It's much easier with the fender off. So yep, there we go.